Hey everyone, today I wanted to go ahead and discuss a very interesting topic, and that is the fact that a brand new set of details have become available regarding the upcoming Horizon Zero Dawn multiplayer game that is being developed, that is obviously set to release at some point in the future for PlayStation 5 consoles and maybe even presumably on PC. The interesting twist is here in the details, and it turns out that this might end up being a Monster Hunter clone type title being directly created by Sony Studios company. Remember that the Horizon development team is an in-house Sony development team. They have been working on their games for quite a while, and the Horizon franchise has been one of their biggest hits so far, and obviously enough to be able to make not just the second game in the series, but of course a brand new VR title and now a spin-off DLC, which is only going to be a PlayStation 5 exclusive release. Now we know details for this upcoming game in the Horizon Zero Dawn world, and it seems to be like it's just gonna be a type of Monster Hunter clone of some type. And what's interesting here is the fact that we now have two separately massive studios, both EA's Wild Hearts and now a Sony Studios franchise, working on a brand new interesting Monster Hunter type release. We're going to be discussing a little bit also on what the Metro article decided to reveal, as well as they put up an interesting article kind of like glossing over all of the information that we have seen. Also, we're going to be going over the job listings as well, which is where all this information is being accrued from, and the allotted tweets as well. So simply put, Metro puts up an article that mentions that Horizon Zero Dawn multiplayer game is confirmed, and it sounds a bit like a Monster Hunter game. They mentioned that Guerilla Games has confirmed that they're making a stylized Horizon multiplayer spin-off after job listings were spotted. There have been rumors of a Horizon series developer, Guerilla Games, working on a multiplayer project since 2019. More details and rumors popped up in the last few months, claiming said multiplayer game was related to the Horizon games and it was set to be an MMO, albeit one development at Guild Wars Studios and NCSoft. While there's still yet to be a formal reveal, Guerilla Games has admitted to the project's existence and shared some brief details about what can be expected from it. Rather than being described as an MMO, the Horizon multiplayer game is classified simply as an online project that's being handled by a new internal team within Guerilla, with no mention of outside help from NCSoft or others. Guerilla adds that the game will be featuring brand new characters and unique stylized look, which suggests it won't boast of photorealistic visuals like the previous games. There's obviously no release window yet, but likely not coming for a very long time. In fact, Guerrilla's acknowledgement of it comes in what we can call a new hires. The studio has openings for multiple positions on the online game, including combat designers for players' characters and machine enemy writers and artists. As for what is decided to lift the lid on the game so early, is possibly in response to those job postings being spotted on Guerrilla's websites. There's a long history of job ad reveals that games and details where developers haven't necessarily announced the game publicly, yet studios never seem to learn. The listings for combat designers mentions, and this is the interesting part, creative and cooperative opportunities for players, and that machine enemies need to provide a variety of challenges against multiple players. This points to Horizon's multiplayer game being more of a cooperative experience where players will track down and hunt various types of machines that populate the Horizon world. The best point of comparison may be something like Monster Hunter. Considering the franchise's popularity, it makes sense that Sony wants to emulate it, and as EA did with Wild Hearts game. The next question is whether the game will be free to play or no. Chances are that it will be, considering Sony is eager to have 10 live service titles out by 2026, and this is probably one of them. Just for context, they did specifically mention that they were shifting a lot of their focus from single player only specific titles to more online live service type games. This is like a article that came out like 2 years ago, from like when they were like really making a big focus on what their platform for the PlayStation 5 would be games going forward into the system's lifecycle. They also mentioned that Guerrilla's tweet also mentions that it is still working on an epic solo adventures for Alloy, which is referring to the upcoming PlayStation 5 exclusive Burning Shores DLC for Horizon Forbidden West. It is interesting to mention that that DLC will not be coming to PlayStation 4. It will only be coming to PlayStation 5. no word on PC just yet. The reveal trailer didn't show any gameplay, but it will continue to be the main game story as Aloy travels to what remains of Los Angeles. There's also the VR spin-off Horizon Call of the Mountain, which Guerilla is co-developing with Valstrax, and the inevitable third game of the Forbidden West creative director, but it's all confirmed in April. So pretty much the meat and potatoes of this entire article is that the listing for combat designers mentions creative cooperative opportunities for players and machine enemies that need to provide a variety of challenges against multiple players. So simply put, you and other players will team up against, of course, the monsters that need to be able to kind of handle multiple enemies all at once. If that sounds pretty close to Monster Hunter, well, that's probably because it actually is. The article also, of course, mentioned EA's Wild Hearts, and one of the interesting things, as I've been covering Wild Hearts, is one of the things that they continually do, that they don't call it a monster hunting title. They actually call it creature hunting, which of course it's the same thing, but ultimately they're not trying to use the words Monster Hunter because that's not necessarily what they want to do. They don't want to necessarily pin their title versus Monster Hunter. Based on what we have seen so far, at the very least, the reception for Wild Hearts has been mixed. I think trailers have done a really decent job as to kind of showcase what the game will be about, but it hasn't necessarily, of course, convinced anyone in the Monster Hunter community to say, I'm going to drop Monster Hunter, I'm going to start playing Wild Hearts. That is just not necessarily the case so far. And from what I've actually seen, the fact that it is a $70 game on PlayStation 5 and current gen consoles is not really doing it any favors either. Of course, there's the fact also that now Rise and Sunbreak are making their way to PlayStation and Xbox, and that is just going to kind of eat away at any sort of chances that Wild Hearts might have actually had. So whether this first party title, Sony presumably exclusive release on the PlayStation 5, and again, maybe eventually it makes its way down to the PC at some point in the future. Obviously, if it's a live service game, it could potentially just do that. Horizon Zero Dawn is a relatively popular franchise. It is a relatively rich world now that we have 2 entries under its wing, and of course, presumably a third one with the VR release, and of course another mainline game down the line. If they're going to make this a franchise, they're just going to continue to put out more games. And an online multiplayer game where you are hunting those robotic monsters, maybe as a live service title, is something that Sony sees. They try to copy, at the very least, the meat and potatoes of what Monster Hunter is already, and you have an interesting idea there. Of course, with the backing of first party, as a first party studio, Sony will be able to be pumping some really good money, so visually this game will probably look really good, and the Sony fandom will be extremely happy that they have some sort of Monster Hunter game that is like a exclusive, Sony title, if you will, a PlayStation game. So it is interesting that all these job listings, and you can see some of those there. They actually posted a tweet as well where they mentioned that join Guerilla in Amsterdam as we work to expand the world of Horizon. It's an exciting time to join us, and we have open roles across multiple departments, so check them out on our careers page and apply today. And they posted not only a big massive listing for you to be able to go try to apply for the jobs, but also separate listings as well. And some of the descriptors for this, they mentioned like, what will you do as a senior character combat designer at Guerrilla Games? They mentioned that lead combat designers design unique abilities that are exciting to execute, other tactical choices, and create cooperative opportunities for multiple player characters. What will you be doing as a senior machine combat designer at Guerilla? They mentioned that lead combat designers to design multiple machine enemies to provide a variety of challenges against multiple players. And there's even an image attached there as well. So pretty much all the wording is just descriptors of different versions of Monster Hunter or what it has been in the past. And it's something extremely fascinating. So we would have to be able to see just what this title is going to try to do in the future. But more importantly, the base is already there. Horizon has been kind of like you hunting these robotic dinosaurs. That's kind of been a thing already. Aloy has kind of like the power to be able to take them down by herself. But if they eventually introduce much bigger and much more dangerous versions of these monsters, then of course, of these robotic creatures, if you will, then of course, a team of 2, 3, maybe even perhaps 4 hunters will be required for you to be able to take down these monsters. So the base is there. It's just going to have to be just kind of what kind of gameplay mechanics they choose to apply around the core of what's already making a relatively good Sony franchise. If you are brand new to my channel, be sure to leave a like and subscribe, hit the bell to receive notifications when the videos go up, and as always, thank you so much for watching. See ya!